Serious, couples who know it won't last. Why won't it last and why do you keep going? The love just faded away. Not suddenly, not some sharp ping then oh I don't love you anymore. No, it just bleed out from 100 tiny wounds. One day I am doing the dishes and I realized I was happy because she wasn't coming home tonight, working later again. I suspect she is seeing a work colleague, an old BF she still gets on with. They've known each other for years before I came along. The funny thing is I don't feel angry or hurt or betrayed. There is just a gentle relief that she is happy and I am happy without her. I always thought I needed a relationship, but now as this one bleeds out on the floor I just feel content to watch it gasp and die. Not my current husband but my ex-boyfriend. We stayed together a year longer than we should have because everyone else thought we were a great couple and neither of us wanted to be the bad guy who ended the relationship. I also really liked his family. We weren't right for each other and kept stubbornly alternating between trying to force the other person into the mold of what we wanted and trying to conform to each other's expectations, which led to a lot of pent-up resentment and fighting. It was an unhealthy relationship. It was the one that taught me that love is in fact not enough to sustain a relationship and sometimes you just have to let things end and it's okay to end. He doesn't love me, never has, and I know it. Didn't stop me from falling in love anyways. We keep going because I have no self-respect or self-control, and he is too lazy, and I'm too convenient for him to look elsewhere. We are best friends. It's hard to draw the line when we always have such a good time together. Well, because it's fun. Just because a relationship won't last forever doesn't mean it's pointless or worthless. I know that I probably won't spend my life with this girl, but god dang me if it isn't great right now. She feels the same way, which makes it all the better. And, hey, if by some accident we end up spending our lives together, that won't be too bad either. I love her, but I am not in love with her anymore. She cheated and broke my heart and I don't and won't feel the same way as I did before. She can't seem to get through her head why things haven't gone back to how things were before. I'm still around because neither of us can afford to raise our kids in two separate households. Bad financial decisions have crushed my income for at least the next 4 years. It's sad to think I can't afford to leave and move on. We still get along, but as far as I am concerned, the relationship is dead. I don't think that everyone you date has to be your potential wife or husband. Sometimes you just like the person, or the sex, or the company. You enjoy each other for however long that it lasts. We have a 14-year age difference. That on its own would not be a problem. We work great together, share hobbies and interests, and are very similar personalities in many ways. Being with him is more comfortable than anything I've ever had before. However, in the last 10 years which I spent in school, he's lived through a beautiful but doomed relationship, the birth of a child, and the breakdown of a marriage. He has no desire to put himself through any of that ever again. I have not had the time to experience any of that yet. I'm only just starting, and I know I desperately want to be someone's wife and a mother one day, not just a stepmom. So, long story short, we know we only have a limited time together until my desire for those things becomes greater than my love for him. Until then, we've made a joint decision to enjoy what we have, because it really does feel special. This is one of the sadder things I've read in here for some reason. He's broken and changed by his past relationship and you haven't even gotten a chance to experience it. I hope you both find the happiness you deserve. Not really relevant as I just ended it, and it wasn't a long relationship, but I knew it wouldn't last because I didn't have that fire anymore to keep it going. Initially you have that puppy love phase where you're infatuated with one another, learning their quirks, dreams, interests, what foods they like, favorite radio stations etc. But then that fire should die down, and in its wake leave smoldering coals, a slow and low burn that lasts longer and is more consistent. Sometimes they make you mad, or you dislike something but it's not a dead end, you just work around it. This girl was great to me, she was kind and fun, but as the fire died down, and she slowly stoked the coals on her end I realized my fire had gone out. I'm currently too busy with work, saving money for a home, looking for a home, family medical issues on and on. I haven't seen my friends in weeks and all I really want is peace and quiet and to be left alone. I kept it going because I thought maybe it's a phase you have a lot on your plate. When things die down again everything will be fine. But I don't think it's right to make her wait by a fire hoping I'd come back and sit with her to get warm. Ironically, despite not feeling that love I was searching for, I feel really sad to let go of her. Life's crappy consolation prize. I think you did the right thing. Where I'm at right now is that I haven't been in a serious relationship, just casual dating, for a number of years. I've grown very accustomed to being alone and being able to do what I want, when I want, that I'm not sure I would enjoy being in a serious relationship. I've been in relationships that are horrible, as I am sure most people have. Why did I stay? The same reason that people tend to stay in failing relationships. It's what you know and within your comfort zone. Leaving the relationship consists of being alone and entering the realm of change. Human beings are adaptable but we tend to hate change. The feeling that after putting up with everything he has done to us, the minute I leave he will decide to get his life together. I know it won't happen, and even if it did I would probably be happy for him. I just feel like I'm owed something after all this time. All the chances I gave him so much and got so little in return. I know it's the wrong thing to feel, I know I have to let go and move on, but it's still part of the truth too. We make good money, we have good sex, we share chores, we have lots of fun, we hardly ever argue, we have similar but separate interests, but in the end, we want different things. I want kids, to get married, and I want to buy a house and settle down. She wants to move closer to her aging family, and feels she can't commit to a house, a marriage, or a family. We used to want the same things and fantasize about our house and dog and kids, but she changed on me. I feel betrayed, but people change. It happens. I like my job, my family, our friends, and the life we have here, but I can understand why she feels she needs to go back to her family. For us to stay together, one of us has to give up some pretty big life goals, and I don't think I'm willing to budge on mine. Part of this, I'm sure, is that I'm not the kind of guy she envisioned herself with. We get along well, but we are different people, and that gap seems to be widening. We're getting older and older. Our relationship is almost 10 years old. How do we go back on that much commitment even though we haven't been married? It feels like a divorce. It's sad for me to think about. We both have things we still want to do with our lives, but they are different things. We're holding each other back. I'm scared I'll never find someone so chill and awesome to be around and I might have to forego both my relationship with her and all of my hopes and dreams of having a family. I'm almost 30, and I feel like I'm running out of time. Do I risk a lifetime of loneliness and let her go? Or do I stay with her knowing I'll never reach some of my biggest goals in life? Even then, she says she can't commit to marrying me. How can I drop my whole life knowing her commitment to me might not last? This hurt a lot to type. I was in a relationship for over 4 years. Similar story, great guy, got along well, had fun together, but something was just missing. I finally ended things when I was 31 years old. I started dating my future husband at age 33, got married at 35 and am now pregnant at age 36. You have plenty of time, but each day you delay moving on, it gets one day shorter. I keep telling myself that I don't want to hurt her, but maybe I'm scared of being alone. Maybe I'm too old for this dating thing. And, mind you, we have been together for 5.5 years, so it may last after all. Sometimes I wish either one would just die in an accident. He lacks empathy, he hates women, and he is absolutely incapable of respecting me. I've tried to leave before, but both of my parents are homeless. I had nowhere to go, so I spent a few days in a homeless shelter with my kids. We shared the bottom bunk in a room with 3 bunk beds that were also full. The bathroom didn't have a door, instead it had a sheet. I noped right out of there and went back to my husband. I formulated a plan to get a job, work around my kids' schedules, go back to school and get a degree so I can support my kids and myself on my own. I graduate next spring. I just want to say, good for you. Your hard work is definitely being noticed, and your kids are gonna look up to you in the best way. It takes an incredible amount of hard work to do what you've been doing. Congratulations on graduating. Because the things that are hurting our relationship are due to his depression. And what kind of an insensitive monster leaves someone because they don't have the patience for depression? My current girlfriend was recently diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia and given only a few more months to live. We've been dating for a few years now and there's nothing on earth I would trade her for. While she may be gone soon, I'm still with her because I love her more than anything else. Sending you both a big hug from a Brit. From the other perspective, I recently was dumped because he doesn't love me, and he says he never did. I never knew this was happening. I was head over heels in love and would do anything for this person. He decided not to tell me he stopped, never felt anything for me. So we kept going for almost 2.5 years. So I kept giving him my everything. I gave him my heart and soul. Trusted him with everything. I poured everything I had into him, our relationship, my career, and it wasn't enough. So a word to those people who are falling out of love, or to people who aren't sure, just tell them how you are feeling, because if you just keep waiting you're going to destroy a person to their core. If a person loves you so strongly, and you don't feel the same, don't let them on. Tell them so you can either work on it, or go your separate ways. Dragging it out doesn't help. It isn't that we don't love each other. My girlfriend and I love each other very much, but life is causing us to walk different paths. I want to climb the corporate ladder for the company I work for and she wants to join the Peace Corps and eventually try to become a member of the embassy system. We both know chances are we will have to split up eventually if we want to achieve our goals, but until then we are going to enjoy our time together. He wants to have kids someday. I don't ever want kids, for about 1,000 reasons. We have minimum 3 years before he starts seriously thinking about having them when he hits 30. So we're just enjoying our time together until then, though I sometimes feel like he's wasting his time being with me. I mean, if we broke up he'd be free to look for someone who's more compatible and they could have a few years to get comfortable living together. Miso is Christian and I am not. This is a big deal when it comes to marriage. She also comes from a well-off family and I come from actual poverty to relative poverty. Being successful is also important to her, as well as not even being in the same league as her looks-wise. On top of those, it's a long-distance relationship with regular visits on the holidays. She is the greatest thing to happen in my life and we have both made each other insanely happy and matured a lot too. But she has brought these topics up as well as subtly mentioning to stay strong when she's gone. I'm not sure how much longer I have left, but I'll try to make her as happy as she made me. Ugh. This one is hard to answer honestly and concisely. My last relationship lasted as long as it did because I was a broken person who had no idea how not to be broken. I'd come from a crappy childhood and I was so busy fighting my way out of that, I didn't pay much attention to where I was landing, just as long as where I landed was an improvement over where I came from. When I finally did realize that I would be better off without him, he didn't agree and refused to leave for another year. It is very difficult to get someone out of your house when you are married and they do not want to go. I'm in a relation with a borderline personality disorder woman. Although I only recently learned what that is, I also recently understood I have a bad case of nice guy caretaker syndrome. Whatever you want to call it. It's like I'm completely responsible for her emotions, and she can't distinguish between her emotions and reality. She is also highly manipulative. At times she has been highly abusive. I want to end it, but it's strange. It feels like I'm just incapable of actually going through with it. Then every time she appears nice or reasonable, I go back to square one thinking maybe it can work out, even though I know it won't. And this has been going on for the best part of a decade. I also have constant shame and low self-esteem, so it feels like I would never be able to find another relationship. Although thinking rationally I know I have a good job, I'm a good guy and quite good looking. None of that helps because I'm so ashamed of myself. I think we are both scared of being alone, yet we know our relationship doesn't work. I think I'm now at the point where the stress of this situation is making me physically unwell. I want help. Therapy, psychotherapy, something. I don't know where to turn. This is really hard. I've been with him for 5 years. We had our ups and downs, but recently things were just terrible. We have been living together for about half a year. He is jobless, lazy, has no hobbies, except gaming, nor any interest in providing us a decent future. He's constantly borrowing money from his friends and family, and sometimes from me, and not returning it, since he has no steady income. He's not abusive, but his lack of interest in anything made my positive feelings towards him almost non-existent. He is very prone to being addicted. He used to drink a lot. Actually, he still does, not frequently, but when it happens it's a lot. He smokes like a chimney. He does not take care of himself. He's on antidepressants and his mental health improved a lot since I've met him, but his lifestyle changed drastically. Because of all of the above, I behaved like a bee to him. I was acting like a horrible, controlling person. I said mean things to him and insulted him many times. I feel awful for doing all of these things. I actually broke up with him last year, but couldn't live without him. I begged him to come back. I don't know if I'll love him. I know I care about him. I want him to become a better person and every day try to help him. I search for jobs with him. I try to change his diet, go out more, etc. But I don't think there's any sense in doing that. I'm depressed as heck and couldn't remember when was the last time I was happy. I cried so many times because of him. We got a dog recently. He was in animal shelter for 6 months. Earlier belonged to my grandparents but went there because my grandpa died and I wanted to rescue him. And moving out would be an issue since he got very used to my boyfriend. All of my friends and family members are telling me that he's a nice guy, but I should leave him. I cannot. I literally cannot. I have such a low self-esteem and I'm so withdrawn that I need him. I know he loves me very much. It breaks my heart whenever he tells me that because I cannot respond in the same way. Sorry for all this rambling. I know it sounds stupid, but I prefer to be sad with him than heartbroken without him. It seems like you don't know how to value yourself beyond your ability to care for rescue others. Except that is not working out for you. A boyfriend is not a dag, and you wanting to change him, even if you think of it as helping, is unhealthy. You are trading your long term for your short term here. I know it won't last because of her heart condition and I know she'll eventually die from it. But I keep going because I want to show her as much love as I can every day until then. Bro, head up buddy. Much love. I'm going to college next year. Probably won't last after that because I will not be living here anymore. I'm just enjoying her presence while I can. I really hope you're not my boyfriend. I know chocolate cake won't last. It doesn't stop me from eating it. Her family is devoutly religious and I am not. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of long-term relationship goals such as marriage and children. The sex was amazing but not the only reason to stay. I know that we'd have both be worse off in life in the long run if we didn't take the time to enjoy what we had even though it was on a timer. When it comes down to it, we're all on a timer anyway. You never know how long you get. The fact that you have an opportunity to recognize it, to understand the fragility and limited nature of what you have can sometimes give you the impetus to scrape every laugh, every stolen smile that you can. It can be bittersweet but I am much happier knowing that I got to spend time with an amazing person who contributed so much to me. We don't even talk anymore. We're both happily married to other people and life goes on. Sometimes the people who light fires in our hearts are not the ones we spend our lives with. Paraphrasing there, I can't remember the source. She's a Redditor too. So if you're out there LC, it was totally worth it. Because of the kid, health issues and insurance, current earnings potential while the kid is too young for full-time school and I have no help in that area. I try to say I'm putting my child first and deal with it. I know, while he's a good man for the most part, I'm not happy. But the kid is happy and on the outside we look like we are living the life. I think that may be the way for most people married. My grandmother, who was happily married for 50 plus years, told me one time I hated your grandfather for 5 years. So maybe this is my 5-year stretch and if I rush to leave, I'll miss the good stuff that could happen later. Trying to convince myself of that one. LOL. We worked together, married prior to this, so I would have to find a new job which would be very difficult, especially considering the benefits and flexibility my current job offers. I financially could not afford to live on my own and pay child support and or alimony. I'm not materialistic, so I would have no issue giving her basically everything minus my essentials that I would need to live. She would be fine financially. Her mother would no doubt move into our home and replace my lost income. She would ultimately win in the divorce anyway. We never should have gotten married in the first place. It took me years to realize I'm not someone who needs to be married. I just don't have the need for that connection. I would 100% never remarry, and the thought of living alone outside of the time I would have my child is something I dream about daily. I'm not without fault in our relationship, but she has damaged me emotionally and mentally in a way that I'll probably never full bounce back from. I don't hate her. I'm not even sure that I don't love her, but I know what we have isn't supposed to feel this way. I know she feels the same way largely, even though she won't admit it to my face when I have asked over the years. I've considered suicide multiple times, though never been seriously close. Mostly because I have an old student loan my parents co-signed on years ago that I would hate to leave them with. So I'll just continue to be miserable at home and put on a good face for friends, family, co-workers and my child. Frankly, it was just something to do. I've been in a couple relationships where it's just dead end from the start, and I've reorganized that there is very little chance of long-term success, but I was just so bored with my life that I said screw it, and kept dating then anyway. I was in a situation like this a couple years ago. It was both of our first serious relationship. We were finally ending 5 years of distance and moving in together. I had put so much time and energy into the relationship and I would have done anything to make it work. My soul, however, did not feel the same way unfortunately. Even though I knew his heart wasn't in it anymore, I continued trying out of stubbornness for a couple months. Eventually I broke it off because I realized he wasn't going to change. Everyone, including us, thought we were the best matches for each other. We were identical in our interests, our mannerisms, everything. It was great. He was my best friend and I was his. Then he got very sick. So sick that he had to be put on super hard medications or else he would die and nearly died the first time before we knew what had happened. The docs told us both it would change him, being in chronic pain forever, aging prematurely, joint issues etc. And most importantly it would affect his mental state, emotions, memory. I woke dozens of times every night wondering if he had died, having full-on panic attacks that shook me so hard I had to be put on supplements. And just like the doc said, he changed dramatically within months. Someone who I'd talk for hours with was just gone for days on end and had no idea why I was worried or upset. He lost all sympathy and got angry at everything. This was a guy who didn't know how to be angry before. He had to go through surgeries, medication changes, and so many tests. He would disappear more and more, making me sit at home and wonder what I'd done. He was my first love, so I was essentially flying blind. I stopped feeling the drive to seek him out. I gave him the silent treatment back and he hated it. He would understand, apologize saying he hadn't realized, and be right back at it days later. I knew I couldn't support his medical needs. Never mind that the idea sent me into panic mode. I just didn't have the funds. He wouldn't be able to work, drive or even fly on a plane. I knew there was no future for us, or at least not a future I wanted. I felt cheated, robbed of what I thought had been the perfect relationship. I was mad at the world but didn't want to leave the one person who made me feel whole and loved, even if it was only a memory of that person. He must have seen it too, because he told me he saw little future in us too. It was sad. We both were sad. We didn't have a violent breakup. There was no screaming. We were just a bit resigned, I guess is the word. Both of us still talk, and our friendship is more or less intact. It's hard to leave the person you thought you'd spend the rest of your life with. If anyone comes by this late and can offer their experience, I'd be grateful. Your so suffers from depression, but is only occasionally compliant with their medication and therapy regime. The depression casts a pall over the relationship, although your so believes it to be less significant than you do. I know there's no magical moment or flash of light, but when does it change from I'm being supportive of my loved one in their mental illness, to I'm enabling their bad decisions and my support is draining me of my happiness? Because we both have ginormous egos and neither of us are quitters. By God, we will soak in our misery before we succumb to failure. Once upon a time ago I really loved her. but she became very controlling of me and I got to the point that I was scared to ask her if I could go out with my mates etc. So lost all my social life outside of her. I strayed with a girl where I worked. I am really not proud of how I handled the situation. And we broke up. She was devastated. We are now back together, as I did miss her and still do love her and we seem to be a lot better than the original relationship. I see my mates regularly and all that but don't have the spark we once had. I feel like I am only there because it's easy, and I can't bear to put her through all the pain again. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.